athletic fields for soccer, cricket, baseball, whatever goes in it. It'll be large enough to accommodate some kids and to relieve the burden that we have now on our park like we do.
2 minutes.
I'm going to violate the format. I'm going to violate it in major style. Regarding the police chief and the settlement, I have a direct question. Is it true that you have in the works a mailer attacking me as somehow being a racist or misogynist because I voted for that settlement?
This guy's full of conspiracy theories, full of misinformation. He's been putting stuff in papers, and again,
I would request,
Okay.
gentlemen,
All right.
we can,
All right,
here
no
we
problem.
go again. He
No
turned this into something that it shouldn't be.
so Brian,
No, no.
you're welcome to use your next minute to respond back, and John, I appreciate
No,
this.
no, look, because the reason why I bring this up and the reason why I appreciate this opportunity to be very direct is because when you think that someone is going to attack you on a very base accusation, I think it's something that we would all want the opportunity to be very clear. That was a horrible time, despite it being a horrible time in the country. It boiled down into Johns Creek, and it was a horrible time really at City Hall and for the police department. And it's true. The details of that case are horrific. You would be ashamed to read that in mixed company, the report. But the lawyers, the people that I have to depend on for legal advice, they told us that you either settle this now or you settle it later for a lot more money. And so we can talk about sidewalks and trails and parks, but I don't think you'd be happier if that number, rather than being, and I gotta say I'm very confused on what the value of $250,000 is, I gotta say that, look, I think you'd be much more upset if the council had been so boneheaded that we had ignored the advice of our legal counsel and it came back as a bill 10 times higher. And so to me, that would not be responsible. That would not be something to be proud of. And again, I would make that vote again tomorrow. It's not pretty, it's not fun, but that is what was right.
1 minute for your response. And if y'all like to go back to the original topic.
That would be a novel idea, wouldn't it? He is a master. He is the planning commission chairman, and you have proven tonight that you've got that experience because you do a very good job at running a meeting.
Well, I'll say it all I've had to say about it. I gave you the factual information. I gave you the information that my opponent didn't give you all the information on. He wasn't clear enough, so I thought I needed to clear it up. So I have that to show. And the question is that the kind of person you want leading your city? A person that doesn't respect women? A person that will vote on something like that? I don't know what to say because, like you said, the incident that happened, the tone, the words that were used were horrific, and I don't know what else to say. It was just unbelievable.
So this is the last 1 minute response, John. Back to the topic again. The question was, can you both address the overbuilding and overusing of Newtown Park?
Thank you for not making me responsible for everything that someone else says. Look, Newtown Park is kind of busting at the seams. We are going to get Colley Creek going. We have got it under construction. We have also undertaken, myself and Councilmember Soprowski, to fill in the gaps in our youth programming. We have got little boys and little girls in Johns Creek that they don't have the ability to be in the sports of their choice that are GSHA sports in our high schools. And so we didn't have a way to get them into sports in the K through 5. We, I think, have taken a giant leap towards solving that at our last meeting. We approved another field, and we also approved, 2 more fields, and we also approved another position. And again, I think that that new position for the programming is going to try to shift some of the activities to be in these other parks, but also hopefully to give more programming options to our youth.
Next question, do you support the development of a place like the one just approved in Alpharetta? And I'm not sure what that was, there's a reference to something called Bailey, I'm not familiar with it. And how will Johns Creek compete with Avalon, Halcyon, et cetera?
John, you get the first go on this one, you get the last word.
So I think it's important that we not try to be like everybody else. There is a desire to go to places like Avalon and the Forum and Halcyon, but I don't know that there's a market for every community to have that exact same thing. So it's going to be important that we make our town center something that's unique. I think that we can make it vibrant, but it doesn't have to be as big as Avalon or Halcyon. It doesn't have to have a crazy amount of density. It's going to have some residential component. But I think that that's about judgment and balance. And so, I really, really want to go to our shopping centers throughout Johns Creek to say, hey, look, I'm interested in your best proposals for redevelopment. How can we help? How can we be a partner that's flexible and open-minded so that you can make your shopping center more of an amenity, something that's got maybe green space, activities or events, something that would make it more experiential rather than just a transaction, and something that maybe could be almost a mini community center in its own right. Now, that's not going to be everywhere in Johns Creek, but I think considering how dated some of our shopping centers are, I think that that's important. But look, let's not try to be like everybody else. Let's try to chart a path that's going to be right for this community and make something that's going to be sensitive to the market conditions. Because look, there are, look at North Point. That was the thing 20 years ago, but it's not hot now. And Avalon, the developer of that, they built it, they did it. My understanding is they're gone, right? Because they know that their big peak performance financially is in those early years. So anyway, I just think that it's not something that's so easy to just say, well, hey, let's just go and build, an Avalon or Halcyon. Let's try to chart our own course that's going to be perfect for the people of Johns Creek.
Yeah, we have to make it unique to our community. That's why we were asking for input from the community to make sure we meet the needs, we address whatever concerns our community had, and we institute whatever our community wants in the plans. We want it to be vibrant, we want it to be exciting, we want it to be a combination of residential, commercial, and also entertainment. We want all those things. But we're not striving to be Avalon, Halcyon, or anything like that, not even Peachtree Corners. We want it unique to Johns Creek. What does Johns Creek want to look like? What does Johns Creek want in their town center? That's what we want. We want whatever our community puts forth. That's why we have so much involvement. That's why we have an advisory committee. That's why we have your website up where you can go to the website and make comments and tell us what you think should be in the town center. So, yeah, we want to be unique to us and not what everybody else is.
My only worry, based on that Facebook post where you talked about there being 12,000 new people that need to go into the Tech Park Town Center area, is that, yeah, that's right, you don't want it to be like Avalon or Halcyon, you want it to be bigger. So, look, I'm going to make sure that it's going to be something that is to scale, that is, consistent with the character of Johns Creek, that it's going to be an asset, that it's going to be something that all of us are going to enjoy with our families. And have it so that it's going to be a place that you can eat, drink, have sports or plays or concerts or festivals. But we don't have to do it so grand that it's going to overwhelm the infrastructure, the roads, the schools, the stormwater, and become something that just creates new problems.
Last minute.
Again, I agree that it needs to be unique to Johns Creek. We need to have a combination of housing, commercial, and entertainment. Whatever level or whatever scale that is, that will be decided by us, the community. That's why we're having community input. So I don't don't agree that we're going to, make it too big, oversize the community, and overpopulate, the city of Johns Creek. That's why we're planning, we're in the planning stage, to make sure we get it right, to make sure we have proper input, to make sure we're reviewing all of the plans, all of the comments, all of the concerns, to make sure it's unique to Johns Creek.
Both these gentlemen are probably getting tired, so we're gonna make this the last question of the night. Can you both speak about your experiences and qualifications with the city budget process? And Brian.
Well, my experience on the city's budget process is, since I've been on city council, which is a year and a half. So I went through one budget cycle, and I was getting ready to go through another one. But my years of experience with the police department, went through that budget cycle every year. So it might be only one time with the city, or 1.5, or maybe 2, because we were starting the second time. But the main thing is making sure we address the needs of our community, making sure we deal with what we need to deal with, and making sure we use the funds that are allocated for those services or for those particular things that were in the budget. We have to make sure we're held accountable, we have to make sure we're transparent, and we have to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do as elected officials. The budget process is an arduous process, a process that starts with our city manager, our finance director, and then it's given to city council for review. And then we, of course, we look it over, we decide if we want to add things, we decide if we don't agree with some things, we discuss the process. It's a process that is very inclusive with all of the city council members, but it's something that we are held accountable to. And we need to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to do and doing what we're elected to do. And that's follow the process, get involved with the process, and making sure we're meeting the needs of the community.
It's true that we do have the ability to add or subtract, change, to debate those different items that are in the budget. And for the one budget process that you were in, unfortunately, my understanding is that you didn't make any suggested changes. And we had one meeting where it was your last meeting and the budget was presented, and you also didn't make any changes there. But look, the fact of the matter is, when we had an unexpected shortfall in revenue, I was somebody that, as a council member, I had to participate in it was really, I think, to my memory, the only emergency called meeting that we ever had. And it was basically because we had to balance the budget. So, that was something that really took a lot of pencil sharpening. That was a little bit of a painful process because there were a lot of things that were important, things that I would have liked to have seen gone forward, but unfortunately, look, we have to have a balanced budget. We just got done with the budget process for this year. This is now my 4th budget that I've been a part of as a council member. I used to comment and make suggestions about the budget back before I was elected. But one of the things, again, that we got to do was we added those 2 fields at McCauley Creek. We added additional programming so we could fill that gap in our youth sports so that little kids would be able to get involved here in Johns Creek rather than being told they had to go up to Alpharetta or some other city where we've got a partner agreement. But, look, one of the things that I personally suggested was that we should have an increased stipend for our police officers. That had not been adjusted, the housing stipend for police officers since the city began. And so we got that adjusted, allocated a little more money so that we have a better opportunity to have police officers living in our community. Thank you.
Like, 1 minute to respond.
Sure, we have a process when the budget is in place, but I have to go back to the $325,000 that we've given away. That's not in the budget. We shouldn't be just giving our taxpayers money away, writing people's checks and go away. We shouldn't be doing that. That's why I say we need to be more vigilant, more transparent. Integrity has to set in, and sometimes we have to make those tough choices. We talk about what legal lawyers advise, but sometimes you have to go down that road instead of giving away taxpayers' money. Because I just didn't agree with it, and I voted against it. That's why I make sure that I'll be good stewards of the money that we bring in, the taxpayers' money. Won't just be giving it away, writing people's checks to go away. Thank you.
John, last thing for you.
Most painful money that I've been a part of spending as a steward of the taxpayer money, but also maybe some of the smartest, because again, that was what allowed that department that was so fractured. It has only been on the healing process since that time. You know, had we not done what we did, you would have had police officers who are being subpoenaed. There would be headline after headline about Johns Creek and what the drama is in Johns Creek and how we can't seem to get our act together because we have got a lawsuit from the former police chief. And so, yes, it was a lot of money. It's something that I think was necessary, and in the long term, I think that it was probably the cheaper option. Doesn't mean that it was great. It just means that that was the least worst. Thank you.
So I'd like to thank, first of all, both candidates for coming out this evening. I think we've all learned a lot about where y'all stand on the issues and what your vision is for the city. Special thanks to Lynn Pennington. Lynn, if you'll stand up. Wherever you are. So Lynn did a ton of work on this. Thank you, Lynn. Thank you, Cindy, for keeping the time up here and keeping them both straight. Thank you, both candidates, for staying within the time. Chris Cupid, if you're around, thank you for hosting and for being so gracious with Rivermont. And we hope everybody gets out and votes in November. Thank you for coming.
We have